Alright, hello students, how are you? Yes, welcome to week 7 materials for English 1 for Diploma 3, KU31101 with me, Miss Monalisa Pasaribu. And yes, we are now in week 7, which means next week is going to be your midterm exam week. Okay, so this is going to be your last material before you have your midterm exam test. So as you can see over here, the topic for this week will be about product design. Yeah, so we will be looking at the consideration on how to design a product, and then after that we'll look at the main vocabularies discussed for this topic. So let's check the outline first. So as you can see over here, the outline for this week's material, we're going to have a quick review from last week's material, and we'll discuss the objective and then the material for week 7, and then we'll do some practice before we have a discussion about the review for week 1 until week 7. Alright, so now we will have a quick review from last week's material, because last week we were talking about advertisement and the types of sentences and also the strategies for writing in advertisement. So let's have a look over here first. So I'm giving you 3 situations. So when you're reading a newspaper headlines, or when you're reading a novel, and when you're reading a lecture notes. I'm sure that most of you have done this reading. So what type of sentences did you encounter most when you find text in this situation? So when you read the newspaper headlines, what are the most types of sentences used, and also in a novel or in lecture notes? Okay, so this is just a quick review from last week's material, everyone. And I'm not going to ask you to post it in YouTube yet. Just keep your answer, and then we will discuss it later in our synchronous meeting in the class. So now we'll move on to the objective for this week's material. So we will you will be able to identify vocabularies related to product design, and then students will be able to identify needs and steps in designing products. Yeah, so we will be looking at 2 of these objectives for today's video. So as a quick warm-up question, as you can see over here, there's a question. Have you ever designed anything? Yes, so for this question, I would like to ask you to post this answer in the YouTube comment. Okay, so have you ever designed anything? If yes, tell me what it is. If no, then you just tell me that you haven't designed anything. You know, design doesn't always mean like you have to design a house, for example, but you can also design your future. You know, that's very abstract. Yeah, so I'm designing my future. I go to I go to school. I go to higher education, so that in the future I'll get better jobs. I think that's also part of a design. Yeah, so so you can tell what you have designed in your life. Maybe something that you think is phenomenal. It can be phenomenal. It can be something that meaningful to your life. Yeah, the design that you think is meaningful to your life. Okay, so for this, let me know your answer. If it is yes, what it is. Okay. Now we will look at the material for this week, which is about design. Okay, so we talk about design, product design. So obviously when we are designing something, this one, it will be something, what do we call it? Quite abstract. Yeah, so you are not creating a massive, because if you are creating something in massive but you don't have any consideration towards the design, then probably the design will not be as good as what you are expecting. Okay, so here we have some requirements for the design yeah, for the product design. So we will look at this one by one. So let's see this one first. So strong. So what does it mean by requirement of strong? So let's say when you design a product, let's say you design a chair, something like this. Okay. So when you design a chair, you make sure that it is strong enough to, let's say, to be seated by someone weigh 100 kilograms, for example, or maybe 200 kilograms. Or maybe you're talking about the materials, because the materials needs to be strong. If it is not strong or durable, we call it, then it can be something, it can be easily broken, then people will not like it very much. Okay, so that's the design requirement for strong. Now what about stackable? What does it mean by stackable? Stackable is when you can save it in one space. So what do you call this? Space safe. Yeah. So let's say, for example, if you go to a party in Indonesia, of course, yeah, they usually provide you with plastic chairs. So those plastic chairs, you can actually easily stack it up, you know, so it doesn't spend too much space for the storage. Okay, so stackable means you can easily store it in one place without spending too much space for the storage. Okay, so that's for the stackable. And the next one, we have available in a range of colors. So what does it mean by available in a range of colors? It means that it has plenty of options. So for those probably who likes, you know, colors, and usually they tend to choose the color that they like most, or maybe they just want to make sure that it is, you know, in the same rhyme or in the same theme with the, you know, with the surrounding. Let's say, for example, you know, this chair is like, because the most of the ornaments or the furniture here are in a dark color. Yeah, so what happens if I change it into a very bright color? Then probably people won't like it very much. So when you have a range of color, then you have more options to choose from this product. Okay, so that would have, I would say, in a way, make it more sellable, make it more purchasable for people. So in terms of market, there are more options to it, so the market will be bigger. And then the next one, we have durable. So what does it mean by durable? Durable is I think it's quite similar to strong, but durable is more, it can last long. Yeah, so for example, instead of using, let's say, plastic, you use wood, because wood is more durable than plastic, you know, something like that. Okay, so that's what we call as durable. Now, what about comfortable? So comfortable is one requirement in product design to see how how this product is easy to use by people. So if it is too expensive or too complicated to use, people will tend not to use it, because, you know, the idea of people use this product is basically to help them to make their life easier. So if the product is not comfortable, then that is actually not making their life easier. Yeah, so that's one requirement in the design, in the product design. And the last one that I put over here is that it is easy to mass produce. So when you have a product that is easy to mass produce, then it's a lot easier to sell it. So when there are big demands, let's say for example, this chair is if it is, you know, too complicated, there are too many things to be designed, then I reckon it will be harder to mass produce it. But when it is easy to mass produce, like for example, the design is not too complicated, but it is also still, you know, have the aesthetical value in it, then I think it will be in the market longer rather than the other common products. Okay, so these are six design requirements that I put online. Yeah, so I have strong, stackable, available in range of colors, durable, and comfortable, and also easy to mass produce. And there's also actually more requirements in the product design, of course. But for this, I would like to know from you. Maybe you have other thoughts about the design requirements. You can put the following numbers here. Okay, so number 7 or number 8, you can have as many as you want, and we can discuss it later in our practicum session. Now we'll discuss about a product design. So what is actually a product design? So product design, it consists in imagining and creating objects meant for mass production. Okay, so the idea of product design is so we can produce massively. Okay, so that's the definition from education, straight education. So we'll have a look at this reading first. So this is about Kenneth Blake, the future designer. So have a look at this reading first. I want you to read it by yourself again. With this reading, pause this recording and then record your voice. And we play this in our practicum session. Just make sure if you have words that you don't understand, identify it first and then look at the word pronunciation and the meaning in the dictionary, or you can ask me and then you can redo the readings again. Yeah, that way you will improve more. Okay, so that's for this reading. So after you do this reading, we will have a look at the steps in the product designing. So first of all, what we can do, this is from bitestart.co.uk. So the first one is to collaborate. So obviously it is better to check or share experiences with someone who has done this before. Okay, so it's very good to check and probably have their considerations to it. And then after that, you also need to research the market to know what the market wants. And then after that, you develop a brief, like for example, what is the idea, and then create the idea, and then evaluate the concept. And then use digital tool to produce the prototype. So if you have the idea, if you have the idea, create the idea, evaluate the concept, and then create the prototype, and then physically prototyping, user testing, design to manufacture, and then you launch the product. Bam, it will be sold into the market. So it will be very cool if you have something like this later in the future. Yeah, so of course these steps are not rigid. Of course, probably you can do the research the market first before you collaborate, or some things maybe not done. Like for example, you don't need to use physical prototyping if you have software development, because you are IT people, right? So probably you don't need a physical prototyping, but maybe for computer technology students you need physical prototyping. So it really depends on the needs of the design, the needs of the product design. Alright, so now we will move to the practice. Now we will talk about 2 practices. So the first one is the matchup between the requirement and the reason. So why we need to have a strong requirement for product design? Probably because of this, because of that. So I want you to match between the requirement and the reason. Okay, the second practice is, so what I want you to do, I want you to go back again to the reading about Kenneth. Okay, and then after that, complete the sentences from with the words that you got from the text. Okay, and this is also related to the vocabulary that you learned for today about stackable, the considerations or the requirements as you are developing or designing a product. Okay, so for these practices, please do both of the practices and also the slides in the practicum session. Okay, so what we will do later in the practicum session, everyone, so we'll look at the materials for the practicum, the slides, and then after that we will have a quick review for week 1 until week 7, and we're also going to discuss about how we will conduct the test for our midterm exam for English 1 for Diploma 3. Okay, so that is all for our practicum, our theory session for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. And yeah, here are the references, the main references for this video. And if you have questions, be my guest. You are most welcome to ask me in group, in personal, or or by email. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.